I would say, Oprah Winfrey, you know what you need to do, and stop hiding behind what you call was negative comments, what you call, oh, I don't even deal with things like that.
So we've eliminated that word disadvantage, because disadvantaged allows other people to look at you like you have some kind of disease.
And,
That's so interesting. We can prepare for giving, and that is meditation. So how about we meditate on this?
Oprah Winfrey is a walking red flag, and it's something that we need to talk about. So once upon a time, Oprah found herself in a position she had never been in before that. She had to apologize for her audience. She said, oh, I regret that phone call. This was a live taping. And what was she referring to? Her phone into Larry King, when she expressed her absolute love for James Frey, an author who wrote this book. It was this mega selling memoir, A Million Little Pieces, and it turns out it was all fake. Yeah, nobody liked this. She said, I left the impression that the truth does not matter. To everyone who has challenged me about this book, you are absolutely right. And hey, in theory, good for Oprah, right? Admitting to being wrong. You know, she's counseled many people on her show many times. You know, it's not an easy thing to do. It's part of Oprah's brand. But, and when I talk about this book being fake, being a scandal, there was reports in the New York Times, this was bad. People were coming for Oprah. So she had to do this live apology. So besides the initial investigation showing that the author had lied about the time he had spent in jail, all these various runs-in with the law, there was people at the rehab center that he attended that were like, yeah, no, the portrait of his life here, fake, fake, fake. So people were saying, Oprah, apologize. Why did you have this fraud on your show? What's going on? And hey, everybody who wanted the apology, they got it. But in a way that had people waving red flags about her behavior. So as Oprah really went in on Frey over various moments in his memoir that had either been proven false or remained dubious, you almost couldn't help feeling a little bit sorry for the man. Now let me explain before you get your pitchforks in the comment section. I get it, instant gratification. Let me get to it. So as the audience clapped when Oprah would spit out zinger after zinger saying, it's a lie, I think you presented as a false person, it was hard to avoid thinking that this author was being put on display not to set the record straight, but for a public punishing. Dare I say almost a witch trial of sorts. Now more than once Oprah emphasized that this experience was embarrassing for her, and her revenge was shaming him in front of a live studio audience. And at the time, it was shocking, because everybody was like, who knew that Oprah was an eye for an eye kind of lady? Throughout all of that time, Oprah had blamed the author's publisher for mislabeling the book, insisting that it should have been called a novel based on a true story instead of a memoir. Now, rumors have swirled around alleging that Doubleday, the publisher, or the direct woman in charge of publishing, Nan Talese herself, actually took what had been a novel and rechristened it a memoir, hoping for the kinds of sales only afforded to true stories. So Oprah brought the publisher on, Talese, to prod her about it. She asked whether there weren't red flags in A Million Little Pieces that should have led Doubleday to investigate whether the story was true. Like at the very bare minimum, the publishing company at the very least should have required the author to include an editor's note, making clear that he had altered events and changed many characteristics of everything in his memoir. But here's a question. So if Oprah could see at that point in time that outrageous events were red flags that the publisher should have made a note of, why didn't she pause there too before choosing this book for her book club and calling it the greatest thing, the most tragic thing, praising it, promoting it? Oprah did her very best to play wounded, claiming that she felt duped and conned by James Frey. She said, the book is so fantastical. Well, then why did Oprah take it at face value and sell it to all of her followers at the beginning? So there's two possibilities here, folks. She's either somebody who was conned very easily, or she just wanted the ratings from the controversy. After all publicity is good publicity. Oh, I almost forgot, by the way. So that confrontation I've been talking about in detail, it's been completely scrubbed from the internet. I don't know, seems a little sus. So back in 2007, Oprah had Jenny McCarthy on her show to promote some book she wrote. It was some very stupid book about her son's autism. And now look, I never went to med school, but I do have Google, and according to CDC statistics, more than 3.5 million Americans have an autism spectrum disorder, for which scientists have yet to identify a cause, other than just knowing genetics and a lot of other things. But Jenny McCarthy, who also didn't go to med school as far as I'm aware, announced very matter-of-factly that her son's autism was caused by MMR. Now, this was something that had eradicated all sorts of things, mumps, rubella, and worse, in the United States. And if you didn't already know that, it's probably because society hadn't had to worry about those diseases for decades. Mumps and rubella aren't as serious, but measles did not mess around in its glory days. It took the lives of thousands of people a year, and the total number of cases had dropped to less than 200 annually, until Jenny McCarthy and Oprah talked about all this on their show. And what happened? A spike in measles cases. 2014, which is only 10 years ago, had a record 644 cases. Now, was that merely a coincidence? I don't know, folks. You take the information available and decide for yourself. I've said my piece. So thanks to Oprah's weakness for theories that veered towards the decidedly questionable, her legacy has been called into question, and by more people than just me. So sure, on one hand she did endorse a lot of credible things in her heyday. She endorsed Barack Obama. She endorsed John Steinbeck's East of Eden, which became a bestseller after being featured on her show, which was 51 years after it was published. Because if I haven't established already how much power this woman had in her heyday before now, you should understand that. But then we get to the other pillar. We have Oprah to blame for Dr. Oz, the Turkish-American heart surgeon who first appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 2004 and quickly became, along with Dr. Phil and Rachel Ray, part of Oprah's team of experts who regularly appeared on her show and got their own spin-offs. So Dr. Oz dispenses with the facts he doesn't find convenient. He manifests an egregious lack of integrity by promoting quack treatments and cures in the interest of personal financial gain. He's more like a Kardashian than a surgeon. And that's according to a lot of his critics who are in doctoral fields. And they argue that his endorsements under a medical banner of certain remedies, ranging from the pseudoscientific to the downright kooky, are immoral. They've argued that the Dr. Oz show was not a medical show. They were going so far as saying that you'd be better off taking medical advice from Dr. Pepper. And now, recently, the man has been promoted to lead Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Now, I can't use the same language with y'all that I used when I called my dad the other night when this news dropped, but let's just say it wasn't internet friendly. Alright, you get a car, and you get criticized for a lavish lifestyle. Controversial radio host Howard Stern accused Oprah Winfrey of showing off her wealth on social media. Now, he said, and I quote, "Oprah's not embarrassed by her wealth at all." This was a recent radio show episode. He mentioned that she loves showing it off on social media. He said, "It's effing mind-blowing when you follow her on Instagram. You see her estates, plural, her gardens, the people who service her, and and then his co-host Robin interjected service her? She's not a car." And then Howard Stern was like, well, she kind of is. She's got servants and she's got people and cooking for her, and it's effing wild. Now, according to Forbes, Oprah has a net worth of $2.5 billion, which is a combination of her talk show success, all of her TV shows, her brand ambassadorships, everything she's ever produced. The Oprah Winfrey Network is a network. Now, Howard Stern went on to say that Oprah knows how to be rich, likes to show it off, which was something he's just not comfortable with. He doesn't think that people should really show off their wealth. Now, his co-host disagreed, was like, Oprah's just giving fans a peek inside of her life using social media. He said she's not showing off. But then Howard Stern was like, well, you gotta be a little self-aware and know that there are people struggling out there. You gotta think about the kind of people who don't have anything to eat. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be a little bit aware of this. So when Oprah interviewed Cindy Crawford and elite model management founder John Casablancas back in 1986, she had Cindy Crawford stand up so the audience could see her body. Now, reflecting on the encounter some 30 years later, Cindy Crawford mentioned, I was something to be seen and not heard. And when you look at it through today's eyes, Oprah's like, stand up and show me your body. Show us you're worthy of being here. Now, in the moment, Cindy Crawford didn't recognize it, but watching it back, she was horrified. She was like, oh my gosh, that was not okay, especially from Oprah. And that's all, folks. See you next time.